You haven't seen the sort of huge queues that we had in the parliamentary elections in December and January, but I think people now know that they can spread out their vote over 2 days, go after work. There have been very few violations, some accusations of the candidates trying to influence voters at the stations or the polling stations or their workers. And one candidate gave an interview to one of the international agencies, which they're not supposed to do during the elections. So that's being investigated, but I don't think anyone expects the elections to be invalidated because of that. I think most people think that there's been a pretty fair election so far. The people who are happiest about going to vote are the people who probably had nothing to do with it. The older voters are amazed. The middle-aged voters are very rational and calm and say it's a great thing we have a chance to vote. People who seem most disappointed are the young liberals who actually took to the streets and took to Tahrir Square last year and started the revolution, because none of their candidates really have made an impression. The younger, the liberal candidates, the ones who stress sort of freedom and democracy and personal freedom, haven't really made much of an impression with the great mass of voters. And it's them who are saying that they are not really happy with whoever wins of the main candidates who look likely to go through to the second round of voting. If you ask people what they say the most important issues are, almost everyone in Egypt will say the economy and security. This is a young country. There's a lot of youth unemployment. The economy was growing actually quite fast in the last few years and has now come to a halt with the troubles of the last year and a half, both at home and, of course, abroad, as we know. So everyone is promising bread and butter issues. Everyone is promising jobs. Nevertheless, people still seem to be voting on a greater ideological line than just on whether people are offering left or right-wing views on the economy, which they are. I mean, there's a big difference between the candidates on whether they're offering free market policies or more subsidies for the poor or minimum wage. So people talk about these issues, but how they vote seems to be much more dictated to by how they feel about the whole issue of Islamism versus secularism.